Don't forget, you can check out the Facebook group. The link is on my YouTube page, or you can click the QR code right here on your screen. Hope you enjoy. And welcome back, guys. So my computer's fixed again. It was down for a bit. It's working again. So now we're doing maple sugar. So we started with 32 ounces of real maple syrup. Yes, you have to find the real stuff because the cheap imitation will not work for this, not to mention you don't want it to. So first thing I did was start heating this up. Now don't make the mistake I did and leave it on low for a very long period of time because you do want this to actually boil. As you can tell by the temperature, it took a while to go. So start around medium and then start working your way up to medium high. So basically it'll get to the point where it gets to 232 degrees or 228 degrees. And it'll sit there for a bit and you'll be like, wait, what? This is crazy. Because, you got to get the temperature up higher than that. But that's because the 228 degrees is the boiling point. And so while there's a lot of moisture in it, 223 degrees, is the boiling point. So you can't get it to go up past that until it gets a lot of that moisture out. One thing I do recommend is when you start to put some oil around the rim, but if you forget like I did, you could always just spray it with some, I used avocado oil in this case. I just lightly sprayed the top of it and it kept the boiling down. So once it gets up to 232 degrees, you'll see it boiling out and it releases a lot of that moisture. And as that moisture releases, the temperature actually starts to go up higher. And that is how you get it up to the 260 to 260 degree temperature that you need it to get to. And unfortunately, if you're not listening to the voiceover on this, you're not going to get the temperatures because I'm not putting in the text this time. So it's at the 260 point, and I've been standing for quite a long time. So my feet hurt at this point. I just got to 260 and said, okay, that's good. And then I took the egg beaters to blend everything up. I started on low because you don't want things spraying everywhere, and then you slowly turn it up higher. And this part does take a little bit of time, but compared to every other process in this takes the least amount of time, believe it or not. But this is the point where you're just trying to mix in some air and release a lot of the moisture out of the maple syrup, the maple syrup. At this point, you just got to keep releasing as much of that moisture out as you can, and it's all coming out in steam. So just keep going with this for a little bit and you'll slowly start to feel the mixture getting a little bit thicker, and that lets you know that more moisture has come out because it's a lot easier, it's not as easy to blend. And then it's almost like magic when it finally does happen, and you'll start to see that here in a minute. So yeah, you just kind of keep mixing up. And you notice it kind of starts to change as you go too. It'll start getting lighter in color, which means it's full of more, it's been filled with more air and everything. Yeah, my phone goes crazy with emails constantly, so sorry if it chimes in. But you see it's just starting to get lighter and lighter, and the more lighter it gets, the harder it actually is to push the beaters around. Thankfully, my pan is pretty easy, so I was able to keep most of it from going up on the sides, really, like getting stuck to the sides. And that's a common thing. So you want something that's going to fit your blender pretty decently. I think I had a little bit build up on the side, and I was so exhausted at that point that I just didn't even care about scraping it all off. It was such a small amount compared to what I have that I just did not care. So I just, rinsed it with water and washed it out. You can chip it out and then blend it if you want. That is your choice. Just keep going. Just keep releasing what little moisture is left. I suppose it's possible you could have left it on the heat for this process, but it's really not necessary. You're just wasting electricity. Or propane or whatever fuel you're using. Just keep mixing it all over. It releases all that extra moisture. And the higher the better. And here you're about to see the magic start to happen. You can see how it's really thick at this point. And it's almost instant. That's the last of the moisture coming out right there. And there it's starting to become a solid. Right there. That is all now solid. There's still kind of bubbling some of that moisture out, and the beater's still helping it do that. So I keep blending it for a few minutes afterwards, just to really get all that extra steam out. But that's how simple it is to do. I mean, this is my first time doing this, and I got it on the first try. So it's really, it seems kind of intimidating, but it shouldn't. Just make sure you got a thermometer that can hit those numbers that you need. See when the boiling point is, and to see when you hit that 260 degrees. Between 260 and 262 is when you want to take it off the heat. I'm just kind of continuing to help release some of that steam. But it's pretty dry at this point. But again, it's my first time, so I put in a little extra effort. But with the way the egg beaters were, I really was able to get really close to these sides and the corners, so I really didn't have a whole lot of stuff that stuck to the pan. So that is definitely something you want to try to consider. And that is it for that part of it. I did just go through and re-edit this and take some parts out, and I don't know why I still left this particular part out. So I guess we all just get to sit here and enjoy my beautiful work for a few seconds. It really is hard to film when you're like have a camera between you and what you're filming. I'm not gonna lie, it is a pain in the tush. And then what I did was, since my pan is a cast iron or enameled cast iron, it does retain heat really well. So I wanted to hurry up and move it out of that to cool it down faster. Of course, the stainless steel bowls also help hold in some pretty good amount of heat, but the residual heat from the maple sugar is a lot less than the cast iron had to deal with the stove temps. So I went with that. Sinatra, leave Snickers alone. Oh, sorry. It's always an Animal House over here. And they're about to fight, so you might hear that in the background in a second. Right, so here's the next part of the process. This also took a while. So I already started this. That was what I originally filtered out from what I'd already done. What's in the bin, that was the stuff that was already filtered through the sieve. So what I did here is all the stuff that did make it through the sieve got put into a separate bowl, and then I just run it through the magic bullet and then run it through the sieve again. And every time there were still some lumps that were still too big, I throw it back in the thing and reblend it. And it really does get quite sticky. The heat and everything generated from it tends to stick up all over the sides of those containers. But if you have a good blender, I recommend you do it. Leave her alone. Go. Shoo. Shoo. Sorry, Sinatra likes picking on her. So that is, I don't know why I took off over here. But, that's basically all I did, and every time there were clumps, I just reran it and reran it and reran it until everything made it through the sieve just fine at the end. It was a little time consuming, I'm not gonna lie. I always shake it to kind of help loosen it up. And there's some pieces that just really did not want to blend. It came down to those were the last ones standing in the bowl at the end. And believe it or not, this is a lot lighter. When it's run through the magic bullet, it was a lot lighter than the other stuff that had already filtered out, which I thought was really interesting. I guess because it wasn't like mechanically run through a blender, it just maintained a more natural color. And from what I'm told, the darker your maple sugar, I mean not including the blending part, but the darker your maple sugar to begin with, the fresher the maple sugar is. But mine was store-bought because I don't have any maple trees. And I didn't want to go spend an exorbitant amount of money just to get maple from up north or Canada or somewhere. Well, that's up north too. So I just got some store-bought stuff from Sam's Club, which a pretty decent price. You know, I got all that maple sugar for a pretty decent price. Come on, stinkers. It's always cat drama in my house. So yeah, I just kept running it through the sieve and kept running it and kept running it and kept running it until it was all done. My feet really hurt after this project, I'm not gonna lie. I don't normally stand on my feet that long. Well, then dump it in. See, it's like totally different lightness. I think at one point I mixed it up. And I think that was the last batch of the last little stubbornness ones. Yeah. I did finally edit some stuff and cut some stuff. But that is basically it. And now I have a big tub of fresh maple sugar that will probably last him a year just making his overnight oats. So thanks for watching. Apologize for all the cat drama. And I hope to be back again here very shortly because I have some really cool dishes I'm going to be making. So, see you then. Bye, guys.